from sacredsoulpractice.com. I'm so excited to be with you today to talk about safe trauma practice and also nourishing statements. Trying not to burn myself with my candle because I can't find my candle lighter. My goodness. We're talking today about nourishing statements because so much of the work that we do with ourselves, with clients, is about transforming, it's about shifting, changing, healing, right? And so it's important to bring in nourishment. It's almost like, for those of you who have done any kind of cleanse or like detox, or those of you who fast, for whatever reason, when you break that fast, it's important to bring in nourishment. And so, what is important to think about when we're doing that for ourselves, right? Emotionally, is to be mindful that we're pouring back in to ourselves in ways that are helpful. What might that look like? Um, it's going to be supported by positive self talk. And everyone hears that. It can sound so cliche at this point, positive self talk. But the reality is, when we are able to pour back in nourishment, it can help sustain us, it can help us to grow. And just to feel really nourished. And think about this as like one giant hug for yourself. Think about the way that you might talk to a young child. You're going to validate them if they come to you um, with whatever it is, a complaint, they're upset, they're fussing, they're mad about something. You're not, those of us who are trying to be conscious parents, gentle parents, you're not going to make them wrong for thinking whatever they think and for expressing it, even if it's off the wall, even if it seems like it makes no sense, right? You're going to want to do your best to bring in validation. We need to do that for ourselves also. And so, what that might sound like, I'll just use myself as an example. My inner child, and when I say inner child, it's a young part of you that is in some ways stuck in the past, is still young, hasn't caught up to where you are currently, is not always with you in your adult self. So they really are still this childlike um, part of you. And they are holding the wounds of the past, the hurts of the past. And like I said, they're under resourced. So they don't have the emotional intelligence, they don't have the um, awareness, the really like prefrontal cortex development yet. So they're vulnerable and they're impressionable. And sometimes they think things are literal when it's not. And sometimes they're easily offended or really like expressive of how they're feeling, where they are, what's happening for them. And it can feel like an inconvenience for the adult part of us, right? Lately, my inner child, and you can have multiple inner children. Sometimes we have really young inner children, like babies, infants, toddlers, little ones like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes a little bit older, 10, 11, 12. We have these teenagers, inner teenagers, um, who are stuck in a stage of development that they haven't grown through and moved out of. And so they're in these various stages, right? Like I said, many of us have multiple different parts and multiple different ages. Those parts are different ages. And so for myself, I have a couple of parts up over the past week or two. Um, My daughter and I were not feeling well. We had germs. We don't want to say the name, but we definitely did not feel well. And we had to bring in all of the immune support, like extra immune support, all of the things, rest, fluids. We both felt terrible. Things had to get pushed back. Calls had to be canceled. So many things, right? And so a part of me has been feeling like, okay, I'm behind. I have things to do. I'm on a schedule. Things are feeling behind. And so you can bring love to the part of you who feels however it feels. And some ways to do that is to bring in validation, it's to bring in um, empathy for that part. It's to be able to say, I hear you. I connection. I understand how you would feel that way. For me, it might sound like I understand how you would feel so behind. I know you had a schedule and things are not working out that way. I get it. I hear you and I see you. You might bring in some safety around that part. It's safe to feel this way. You are safe to feel scared. You're safe to feel behind. You're safe to feel however you feel in this moment. I've got you. I've got you. We don't have to always want to fix it. It doesn't have to always be like it's going to be okay. Sometimes, it feels like in the moment that it's not going to be okay. And sometimes we just need to accept that that's how we feel. One of the ways I have really worked for years now to validate my own inner children is to really say, you're welcome here. How you feel is welcome. Your big feelings are welcome. Your attitude is welcome. The fact that you hate the world today is welcome, right? Like it's not always rainbows. And unicorn. That's not always how we feel. And it's okay to feel these edges and the sacred rage and anger and pain and trauma and grief when we're able to welcome it like the ocean. I believe we are the ocean, that life is the ocean. The ocean does not reject the waves, even if it's a rough wave, even if it's just it doesn't reject the waves. However they come, they're welcome. And so when your inner parts are feeling kind of needy, some ways to really validate that might be it's safe for you to ask for what you need. It's safe for you to be supported. You can use your like me I statement. It's safe for me to be supported. It's safe for me to ask for what I need. I don't have to carry this all by myself. It's safe for me to be supported. A question that I ask myself is how can I support myself in this moment, or what additional support do I need? What would make this easier? How can I let this be easier? Am I willing to let this be easier? I also give myself a giant permission slip. I don't have to do this alone. I don't have to do this alone. I can be supported. One of the ones that I've had to really work on for myself in my own healing journey has been it's safe for me to have all of my needs met at the same time. It's safe for me to have all of my needs met at the same time. When we really think about allowing our inner parts, those under resourced parts, when we bring resources back to them by going inward and really spending that time creating that internal intimacy, it's about giving permission, granting permission to feel all of it, to be with all of it. So that might sound like um, take all the time you need right now. If you feel mad, sad, hurt, angry, enraged, it's safe to feel this. I've got you. I'm here. There's nothing that you need to do in this moment except for feel this, be with it, and allow whatever's coming up to come up. When we um, are creating more boundaries and more intimacy with ourselves, with our experience, it can often feel like really edgy sometimes. And so validating your feelings matter, my feelings matter, what you have to say is important to me. And what I come back to is when we are talking to like a young child, even if you aren't around young kids that much, right? Imagine if you had a young child in your presence, how you might speak to them, or a pet, right? An animal. When you can turn that language and that tone onto yourself in kind ways, you're able to create change and shift. And so, acceptance phrases might sound like, my feelings matter. How I feel about this matters to me and to those around me. Um, I am so loved. You are so loved. I have so much to offer. You have so much to offer. And the world needs the medicine that you have. And so I encourage you to think about different statements that I've mentioned that can be supportive in your journey as you move forward. We're going to talk about this more in the coming week or so, ways to really bring in nourishment and to really bring in that true acceptance in order to create change. Acceptance is where we begin to create change. Even if we don't like what's happening, until we can bring in acceptance, it's hard to create change. Acceptance does not mean that you like what's happening or that you agree with the outcome. It simply means that you're accepting what is so that you can create what you desire. I know you can do it. I'm so here for you as you do it. I would love to know what nourishing statement you're going to focus on over this next little bit. I'd love to hear you share it in the comments so I can come and celebrate with you. Until tomorrow, thank you for being here. I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon.